Bryce Young's career has undoubtedly gotten off to a slow start. So much that some NFL fans are already calling Bryce Young a bust. Well, I wanted to take some time, dive into the film, and see what's going on in Carolina. So I studied all of Bryce Young's dropbacks so far through 2 games, and there are definitely some bad plays here that we've got to talk about. And I'm actually going to just rip the Band-Aid off and talk about every single negatively graded play I've seen from Bryce Young so far. So here we go. This is going to be one of Bryce Young's 2 interceptions to my man, Jesse Bates, here in week 1. And pre-snap out the gate, the Falcons are really showing cover 3 here. For one, you got press coverage. You don't see a ton of press from quarters because this safety is going to end up, hanging out in this area, which would leave no help over the top against the receiver. But the Falcons not afraid of the Panthers getting deep on them. They're able to disguise this, basically go man here in kind of that curl flat area. And then these safeties are going to rotate into a 2-shell cover 4 look. And a lot of rookies struggle with these sort of, disguised pre-snap looks. And what we're going to see here is a pretty big rookie mistake. We're expecting the safety to rotate deep, this to come open, and you hit a throw over the middle of the field. What he's not expecting is for Jesse Bates from the opposite side of his field of vision to be lurking in quarters where he has permission to basically cut off any crossers, any inbreakers, and he happens to be one of the best playmaking free safeties in the NFL. So a bad read, no way around it, but we see a lot of young rookie quarterbacks struggling with these disguised rotational safety looks, and this is just something Bryce Young's going to have to learn from. Next up, we have another really tricky rotational play by Dennis Allen that confuses Bryce Young here. This is one of those really tricky, highly schemed up coverages here. So let's go back to the start of the play. This actually ends up being cover 2, which, again, Bryce Young's just going to have to get used to the NFL doing this stuff. This safety's going to rotate over here. They're going to drop the corner, Paulson Adebo, into a 2-shell, and they're able to do that because you got trips over here, a tight end. They're okay with this being more shallow coverage, and if any of these guys come like this, deep half can cut those things off. But you're going to have the outside corner here sitting in a flat. This guy's going to rotate over the top. And really, Bryce Young just doesn't recognize this, right? This is kind of a cover 2 beater where you have out and up or whatever you want to call this. But you're reading the leverage of this corner. And you have to make a quick decision on if you want to throw it in here or if you want to hit that honey hole shot. But I don't think he recognizes this as cover 2. I think he's expecting cover 3. He's expecting this corner to keep following DJ Chark and the out route to be wide open. Now, I don't know why necessarily they run this so deep. Usually these quick outs against cover 2 are going to be, 4 or 5 yards. This is like 9 yards of depth. I don't know if that's how they designed it because it's 1st and 15, or if Mingo, the rookie's just, running a bad route. That's hard to say. But either way, you see Bryce Young not picking up the complex disguised coverage that these rookies are going to see, and he ends up not pulling the trigger and ends up scrambling, gets nothing out of the play. So really not a huge deal, but certainly we're starting to see he's going to have to learn how to read these disguised coverages much better, just as most rookies do. Now we have Bryce Young's second interception to Jesse Bates. This one's much more straightforward. This is just something that he's going to have to learn you can't do in the NFL like you did in the SEC, especially when you're going against a safety like Jesse Bates. So this is a pretty clear cover 3 picture pre-snap if we go back here. No disguise, nothing too complicated here. He is going to read the trip side of the field as he should here. But in the SEC, this guy right here, this safety is staying way back here. But this is the NFL. Jesse Bates is able to sell this thing short because he knows he's got plenty of numbers on that side of the field, able to lurk for anything coming underneath. And that's exactly what he does here. Hangs, waits for Bryce Young to get to that backside dig, which, by the way, I appreciate that Bryce Young is getting through this progression and going to the backside dig, but obviously he's got to check and make sure that this safety isn't there to make that play. So that's definitely a rookie learning moment, but a critical mistake that you can't see him repeating moving forward. This next one's not quite as bad, but I think Carolina would want him to play this differently. They're going to be running a levels concept here with kind of a backside, like, I don't know what you would call this, but a flanker route, I suppose. And on second down here, I think you'd rather Bryce just read this thing out, stay within the structure, and not extend the play, as we'll see here. You know, you'll see that flanker route come open. Both the dig route and the crosser are taken. It's pretty damn unlikely that anybody's going to be here in this area. And I think you want Bryce to just pull the trigger on Thielen. Now, he ends up rolling out and almost makes something out of this, which you appreciate. The problem is this is going to be one of his few inaccurate throws, as you see right there, just behind him. Lucky that, you know, that didn't get intercepted. That ball's got to be out in front of the tight end on the move here. So a slight ding for accuracy and a slight ding for the decision making. Now, while we're on the theme of accuracy, this is actually the only other inaccurate throw that we get from Bryce Young in these two games, but it does happen and you got to ding him for it. This one had pretty big potential to go a long ways, and one of the few times Mingo actually gets open. So on this next one, I don't love what we see here because I think Bryce is a little bit scared of what we saw earlier. As you can see here, a wide open receiver in the middle of the field. But this is likewise going to be a somewhat confusing cover 4, although it's a much clearer picture than before. You could argue that this is some form of cover 6 because Terrell's playing this thing so shallow, but you're going to get your 4 quarters here on the coverage. But yeah, I think Bryce, after throwing those 2 interceptions, is just a little bit too scared to let this thing rip. But he definitely has the spacing behind the linebackers and underneath the safeties. This is a time where he should be checking these safeties and saying, all right, I got a clean pocket. Yes, the rush is starting to bear down on him, but this is a clean pocket by NFL standards, a few seconds into the drop back. You just want to see him plant that back foot, rip it to Thielen, get a nice 25-yard or 20-yard gain there. Not the end of the world to take a check down with pressure bearing down on you on first down, but that throw's there and should be hit. Then just another play in this Falcons game, another missed opportunity. Again, I like that he's getting through his progressions, gets to his second read here, and I understand that he's a little afraid of these backside digs at this point, but that is open. It's in his field of vision, and definitely the coaches would say, hey, lead him. You got a big completion there. So definitely a missed read. Ends up basically throwing it away on first down. Not the end of the world. All right, this next one's going to be a case of confirming my priors in a bad way here for Bryce Young. He's going to be seeing the blitz on 3rd and long, and this was one of the weaknesses I had written down on Bryce Young's scouting report, was he was really inconsistent at his processing and decision-making against the blitz. And here it's definitely a situation, you know, in your first start that Atlanta might try to light you up, especially if he's being coached up well. We know this Saints scheme coming over from Atlanta likes to run this kind of stuff. So for me, it's a little concerning that concerning is a strong word in his first start, but this did show up at Alabama, and he's going to have to get better at this. You know, look in the face of where the blitz is coming from, and if you've got an easy outlet, just take it, dude. You know, I know it's 3rd and 10, but you know, Marshall's even slowing down his pace because I think he knows, just hit me in stride. I got 2 guys here. I can get this first down. I just want to see Bryce recognize where the blitz is coming from, and he doesn't even look in the face of the blitz right away. He's staring at this safety way too long, trying to read which coverage it is. It's like, dude, you're getting blitzed in the NFL. You got to go, especially when you got backup guard in there. So just got to improve how he's looking at the blitz. And that was an issue from him coming out of Alabama too. This one's going to be in a similar breath kind of blitz recognition, but it's more about just having faith in your offensive line to pick up a stunt. Now, I get why he doesn't have faith that his offensive line can do that, because they had been getting destroyed on stunts all game at this point. But if this stunt gets picked up correctly, and this time it does, you got a clean pocket here. There is no reason to scramble, bail, hit this check down early. Not that he had a ton of receivers coming open, but you had an opportunity to buy yourself more time. This one's very nitpicky, but yeah, you want to see him hopefully get to a point where he can trust his offensive line to pick this up so he can hang in there and, maybe he hits this deep out, or maybe, he's reading the leverage of Lattimore here and this comes open. It's just hard to say, but he does leave some meat on the bones of this play. And then, pocket presence in general is such a strength for Bryce Young. It was at Alabama. This was the only other play here in his first 2 starts. Nothing I'm terribly worried about here, because this is just 2 plays in 2 games where he's displaying questionable pocket presence, and has countless other plays where he's showing the great pocket presence he did at Alabama. But like I said, we're looking at all of his negatively graded plays, all of his negatively graded dropbacks, and there's one right there. Just, not only is this guy coming open if he lets this thing develop, but he's, just straight up bailing out of a clean pocket, which you never like to see. All right, this one is just a missed read, but again, a coverage he's probably never seen in his life. This is going to be cover 6 with a defensive tackle spot dropping into coverage, and basically he ends up missing an open receiver at the start of this play here. Right in the middle here. This is NFL open right here. You've got cover 2 on this side of the field. The safety rotates here, and then you're going to have cover 4 on this side of the field. So with the mid-read linebacker here, Demario Davis, having to run up the seam with Thielen, this guy clearly not matching the other seam route here. There's a large window here to let this thing go. Now, this is a rookie in his second start, seeing a weird coverage. I get why he doesn't pull the trigger here, but if you want him to be a great quarterback, you want him to be an elite processor, that throw's there. He ends up dipping out of the pocket and, gets into play extension territory, throws the ball basically out of bounds. Then we have really the first big mistake where I feel like he's pressing a little bit too much that puts his team behind the 8 ball a little bit here. He's trying to extend the play, make something happen, doesn't feel the pressure from behind, gets sacked, gets fumbled. That's on him. It's the first play really in 8 games where he's making a, out of structure big mistake. And we see that from Mahomes. We see it from Josh Allen. I'm really not too worried about it, considering this is the first time in 8 quarters of football that we see something like this. But it is a negatively graded play, puts his team behind the 8 ball, and just don't want to see too many of these, right? Pretty self-explanatory, though. Last one, just a slight missed read here, just a slight ding in the grading profile, but we got sprint right option of some kind, aka a play action boot to the right, and the comebacker's here. It's in his field of vision. Lead him to the sideline. You can get a first down on this instead of 4 or 5 yards. Still completes a pass. It's first down. Really nitpicky here, but I would give him a minor ding for missing the read on a more open receiver. So there you go. That was every negatively graded dropback that I had on Bryce Young through his first 2 games. Definitely some mistakes in there, but nothing to panic about. Like, really at all, if we're being honest. I think the one thing that you might have some pause about is if Bryce can, moving forward, find the right balance of aggressiveness and conservative in terms of attacking those in-breaking intermediate throws after we saw him get into trouble, not reading those safeties, and then mostly avoid those throws through the rest of that Falcons game. But beyond those types of throws, this was a lot of nitpicky, armchair quarterback things, stuff that you'd especially have to say about any rookie quarterback in his first couple starts. But a lot of this is stuff that you would nitpick on. Even the best quarterbacks in the NFL will have a missed read here, a strip sack fumble there, even bailing from a clean pocket. We see occasional plays like this from all of the quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm just not that worried about a lot of this stuff showing up on Bryce Young's film. And especially, he can still get a lot better too. Real quick, if you are enjoying the video, if you could please hit that like button. It really does help me out. Also consider subscribing. You can join me on this mission for 100,000 subscribers. You won't miss any of my NFL content and any more of these film breakdowns that we bring to you in the future. But now I need to talk about some of the things that showed up on film that add some much needed context to what is honestly the majority of the reason for a lot of Bryce Young's lack of production. And the number one thing I got to talk about here is the staggering number of plays where Bryce Young just has nothing to work with. In 2 games, I recorded at a minimum 26 plays where Bryce Young doesn't have a reasonable structure to operate from. If you take out screenplays, that's 35% of his dropbacks. 1 out of every 3 times he looks to pass, that he has to go above and beyond the expected level of play for a quarterback to make something happen. These are plays where either the receivers are not getting open, plays where the offensive line is not giving him the time to operate that you would expect, and also plays that have poor route design that were doomed from the start. Let's break a couple of these down. So this play against the Saints is just one of many plays in this game where Bryce Young just doesn't have anywhere to go with the football. And this is a difficult 3rd down. You're in primetime TV. He's trying to make something happen here, and I ultimately don't mind this throw. Let's pause this at the top of his drop. He's going to have to let this thing go to Adam Thielen with anticipation. Again, 3rd down here. He's hoping that worst case scenario, Thielen can win body positioning here and at least break up an interception. And also, these are difficult timing throws that any quarterback wide receiver combo needs time to grow and learn the chemistry of these types of throws. And we've seen other throws too here with Carolina where these types of timing routes, comebackers, stop routes just aren't quite on the same page, which is kind of to be expected from a young quarterback in his first couple starts. So while you can argue over the placement of this throw and yeah, maybe he needs to just take a sack or whatever on that, that's pretty nitpicky to me. I don't mind this look. He's just hoping Thielen can win, and obviously there's nowhere else he should go with the football here. And I just, again, don't mind this throw. I'm not worried about it. Same situation with this Panthers game, just putting them in a tough spot. You get back-to-back runs that go nowhere, and that's going to set him up with a difficult 3rd down, 3rd and 12, and there's just nowhere to go with the ball here. There just isn't. He's got to start scrambling because the right tackle gets beat. He's trying to make something happen, ends up throwing the ball away. What is any quarterback going to do there? And then you want to see a quarterback, when he doesn't have the structure of the offense in place, can he create? Can he make something happen? There you go. He makes a guy miss, rolling out. Good look. Excellent play by Tyrann Mathieu to come off his man and make a play where Mingo can't win body positioning and come down with the catch. Really not sure what else you want from your quarterback there. The left tackle gets beat. Bryce extends. And it's just great defense, and the receiver's not, winning. And is this an early hit? Maybe, maybe not. But ultimately, you're grading this play. You're happy with that play from Bryce Young, even though it results in a punt. And don't even get me started on the number of times I'm sitting here getting through this film, ready to pull my hair out, watching Frank Reich and Thomas Brown, the offensive coordinator, dial up countless all curls concepts, which is basically the poster boy in the NFL for uninspired play design that rarely works, especially, as we mentioned, for a rookie quarterback in his first 2 starts with a bunch of young receivers who has yet to establish the chemistry and trust that it requires to execute these types of throws that just require timing and reps and chemistry. So these plays where Bryce has little to nothing to work with showed up time and time again. especially, by the way, in that Saints game, where I got to give some credit to Dennis Allen and the combination of defensive backs, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu. We just saw that great pass break up there. And especially those young DBs, Paulson Adebo and Alontae Taylor, who were fantastic in last Monday night's matchup, as well as a defensive front that swarmed Bryce Young for the majority of the game. So I got through this film, and I wanted to do some searching to see if the metrics back up kind of what we're seeing here with how bad Bryce Young's surrounding cast is. And the data more than backs up this idea that Bryce Young needs a lot more help out here. In fact, according to PFF charting data, Bryce Young is dead last in the percentage of his throws that have been to what are considered open windows, meaning to an open wide receiver. Yet his accuracy rating on those types of throws is actually number one, the highest in the NFL, which adds up because when we looked at all of those negatively graded throws and plays earlier in the video, only 2 of those plays were accuracy-related issues. And if you're a Panthers fan searching for a reason to believe that Bryce isn't playing as bad as his stats indicate, I do tend to side with you. There are a handful of plays in each of his 2 starts where Bryce is taking high-difficulty dropbacks and either turning them into a positive or at the very least doing the right thing to give his receiver a chance, kind of like that play we just looked at to Mingo. But here's another great example. In the Falcons game, they're backed up on their own 3-yard line. Pressure gets in because his right guard gets just decimated here. Watch that one more time. Calais Campbell going to work. But Bryce Young's got to make a decision here, right? He can't take a sack. He's got to find a good target, give him a good chance. You can't throw this ball out of bounds. It's going to be a safety and a grounding and a safety. So he throws this timing route to the outside, a comebacker, hoping his receiver can win. The only thing you could maybe nitpick is that he may have had a step here. But he doesn't have time to make these decisions. This is pretty good pre-snap processing to see that he's got a one-on-one on the outside. And this is a good look. I'm totally fine with Bryce Young in this situation attempting this throw. And the receiver just either gets held or can't separate. There's no threat of a deep threat here. AJ Terrell, a great corner, just makes a play. Whatever way you want to dissect it, this is not bad quarterbacking from Bryce Young. This is about as much as you can ask from your signal caller in this situation. And it's these plays where there's nothing there and he's at least turning it into a neutral, or in some of these clips, he's turning them into positives. These types of plays are the best signs of life for Bryce Young. Because the real busts of the world, guys like Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, came out early in their career and had those seeing ghost games where they would take these types of high difficulty dropbacks and turn them into reckless turnovers or bad sacks. And as we saw earlier when we reviewed Bryce's negative plays, it's not like there's another side to the coin here where there's a bunch of ugly plays out of these types of high difficulty situations. He's really making trying his best, I would say, to make chicken salad out of chicken shit a lot of the times here. And then I just want to highlight a couple more plays where they've just barely missed or the surrounding cast hasn't been quite good enough. I actually like this look from Bryce Young. A lot of people are going to look at this and say, oh, it's a 3-man rush. You got to come back, see the backside hitch to your running back is coming open. No, this is a good read from Bryce Young. He's expecting, and hell, this is a good play call from Frank Reich. They're running a little bit of a natural pick here, coming down, a little slow, rub action, and then this wheel route should be a good look. And I can't for the life of me decipher how Jonathan Mingo doesn't accelerate out of this better. You're talking about a guy that ran like 4.39 at the combine, strong dude, run through that contact and get open. Now, there might be a hold here that the ref can't see, but I have absolutely no issue with Bryce Young saying, I'm going to lead him to the sideline. Receivers got to get some separation and get open, and there is just no separation there. And the throw, I think, would have been on the money if Mingo just keeps accelerating there. So, again, results not there, but a play that I'm totally fine with Bryce Young giving us that look. And here's another one in this same Saints game where they're just so close, man. And I know close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, but you're looking at a play-action dropback, unblocked defender. That's a 290-pound Cam Jordan in his face. How many quarterbacks just see this, nobody's open, and turn it into chicken shit? Well, he throws, in my opinion, a pretty good ball, man. He's got to throw this high and away from Paulson Adebo, and he does, and they just barely disconnect on this thing. He's got a hurried release, cross hash. I see this on film on Tuesday after Monday Night Football, and I'm like, you know what, Bryce, you get that look every single time. You're throwing to a 33-year-old man that just doesn't have the speed to run under this thing, the catch radius a little bit lacking. Look how damn close that is. I will take that throw every single time, even if it's incomplete. And lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't harp on Carolina for some really brutal game management and execution in some critical short yardage situations in these two games that have really limited Bryce's opportunities to finish drives and build confidence and ultimately win some of these close games. Rewind to that Falcons game. Early in the game, Bryce is actually leading an excellent drive until they run into 3rd and 1. The Panthers dial up back-to-back, uninspiring inside runs that get stuffed. Turnover on downs, out of Bryce's control. Then later in the game, Bryce is driving again with a chance, by the way, to take the lead in the third quarter. He hits a nice timing throw to set up a similar 4th and 2 situation, but this time a scared Frank Reich decides to kick the field goal. Surely that's not that big of a deal though, right? Well, just the next week in his second game, same exact situation where the Panthers are down 3 in the third quarter. Very much a ball game here, and they decide to bring out Andy Dalton for a 4th and 1 whatever, and the right guard false starts, probably because he's not used to Dalton's cadence, because he's the backup. That's also not mentioning a brutally timed Miles Sanders fumble in the Falcons game that killed another promising drive while it was still a tight game. And I know many hate to hear excuses like this, but we're looking at a 2-game sample size here, and this is all piss-poor execution that is completely out of Bryce Young's control that, again, has seriously stalled his ability to build up momentum, win football games, and build up his confidence to start his career. That stuff matters. I do want to take a quick second to tell you guys about Underdog Fantasy. I'm sure you guys have all seen the screenshots of their Pick'em contests. You can spice up any given football game. You got a sloppy Thursday night game like Giants-Niners, but you want to ride it out to the fourth quarter and see if Darius Slayton gets that 6th target so you can take a $10 slip and turn it into $200 of winnings. Underdog's just so awesome, man. People share these screenshots for a reason. It's super fun. And right now, you can get like a full season's worth of extra pick'em slips because they'll match up to $100 on your first deposit if you sign up using promo code TFG, and you'll support my channel in the process. But, throwing away all the excuses we've been making for Bryce Young, the bus talk is even more crazy when you see that he's actually out here making a lot of really good plays happen on tape too. Coming out, the number one thing you loved about Bryce Young was his pocket presence, that rare ability to sense and navigate pressure, to manipulate the pocket, to know when and how to extend plays. And we've seen plenty of that in his 2 starts. And I know we highlighted those 2 plays earlier where he bails from a clean pocket, but that was just one time in each game where I had to even question his pocket presence. And even one, he's nervous seeing a stunt that he's going to get more used to in the NFL. But that's normal, even for guys that I regard with the best pocket presence in the league, like Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers. Once or twice a game, they're not going to be perfect with their pocket presence. And to me, he's also shown us that same confident processor that we all loved at Alabama. He's shown us that the game does not move too fast for him. He's more than capable of scanning the field and getting through his progressions and throwing with anticipation. One of Bryce's last throws against the Saints here, an absolute beauty. Gets quarters, but look at the understanding of the passing concept, how to use his eyes, how to manipulate a defender. Let me just run this thing. Watch the pump fake, draws in the outside corner, and then throws the corner route before Mingo even begins his break. This is high-end quarterback play. If he doesn't do that head fake, Paulson Adebo keeps dropping back, and that throw's not there. That sets up a touchdown on the next play. Here's another beaut. Pressure in his face, and just drops a dime. Leading his receiver. Again, in the face of pressure, that's a big-time throw in a game that he supposedly played like garbage. The film just doesn't say that. Let's go back to the Falcons game. This is another one of those that they don't connect on, but he reads the single high structure. He gets to his second read on the play, checking the deep shot alert. How many quarterbacks just don't get this deep in their progressions and test the defense deep? I love seeing this in his first start. Now, another situation where what's the receiver doing? You see him slow down right here? Why does he stop? That's a dime from Bryce Young. And he takes a hit. Thought this guy couldn't take any contact. Thought he was too small. That's a big-time play. Terrace Marshall's got to keep running. It's on A.J. Terrell. That was there. And there's a dozen other plays where Bryce has already shown that when the structure of the play is there for him, he can execute at a high level. In general, as far as rookie quarterbacks are concerned, it really does not feel as though the game moves too fast for him. You know, even the two big mistakes against the Falcons, the interceptions to Jesse Bates, they're second read throws. Yes, learning moments and areas to improve in terms of his processing and decision making. And we've pointed out some nitpicky, should have thrown it plays for sure, as you would with any young quarterback. But overall, there's a lot more good here than I thought I'd see based on the production and all of the comments about how bad Bryce Young has played. But overall, I'm actually relieved that the Panthers are resting Bryce Young this Sunday against Seattle. We've seen countless quarterbacks get physically broken, mentally broken, develop bad tendencies, and forget about a lot of the good stuff that they do playing under better surrounding casts than this. Not to mention he is a more slender player. And while I hate the on-field product from this coaching staff, I think it's a really good decision for them to play it safe and protect their investment. And hopefully they can figure some things out as a team, whether it's the receivers figuring things out, the offensive line learning how to pick up a stunt, the coaching staff finding out what plays work for this team, getting a better run game going. Because I think there's a quarterback here in Bryce Young that if they can clean some stuff up, can even turn this season around for Carolina when their defense has played well and they've been in these football games. But in the meantime, let's please pump the brakes on all of this Bryce Young is a bust talk, because, as always, the film doesn't lie.